Folks, what you're about to hear changes everything for the rest of this season. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll understand why one team's biggest seat is suddenly wide open and why one driver's championship hopes might be hanging by a thread he can barely hold with one hand. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because trust me, this story is far from over. Let's start with the bombshell. Josh Berry just confirmed he will not be returning to his Ford ride next season. That's right, NASCAR's oldest team now has a massive vacancy heading into next year, and the silly season just got a whole lot crazier. Berry said he's open to anything moving forward, but let's be honest, this has been a rough stretch for him. He had a big win early last season, a strong run on the West Coast, but then things fell apart. He limped into the playoffs, crashed out in spectacular fashion in 3 straight playoff races, and this season has been more of the same. 4 DNFs in 15 races, only 2 top 10s, sitting 30th in points. When your DNF count is higher than your top 10 count, that's a major red flag. Now, is it all on him? Not entirely. The team struggled before he arrived too, and it's been a down year across the board for this manufacturer. But here's the thing, he hasn't elevated this team either, and with no major sponsorship dollars attached to his name, his leverage in the silly season just took a hit. So where does he land? Could he chase a ride in the Xfinity Series? Could a certain legendary team owner who's always had a soft spot for him make a move? Or does he head back to short tracks to rebuild his career? Stay with me, because what happens next could shake up multiple teams' lineups for next year, and I'll be tracking every rumor as it breaks. But that's not even the biggest story today, because last night, we got a gut-wrenching update on Christopher Bell after that terrifying crash at Michigan. And folks, what NASCAR officials are saying about this hit is honestly hard to believe. Joe Gibbs Racing confirmed that Bell suffered a fractured left wrist after his accident on lap 148 of Sunday's race. He was evaluated at the Infield Care Center, released, flew home to North Carolina, and X-rays confirmed the break. And here's the part that's going to leave you speechless. Despite a broken wrist, Bell has been cleared and says he will be behind the wheel this weekend at Pocono. Now let me tell you why this crash is such a massive deal. NASCAR's communications director came out this week and said this was officially the hardest registered impact of the entire next-gen car era, and possibly the hardest crash in at least the last decade. Think about that for a second. The hardest hit in 10 years. And the only major injury was a fractured wrist. That tells you everything about how far safety technology has come in this sport. Bell himself posted a heartfelt message thanking everyone who reached out, thanking his medical team, JGR, NASCAR, and every driver before him who helped build the safety standards that may have just saved his career, maybe even his life. He ended it simply, "See you in Pocono." But here's where the suspense really kicks in. Pocono isn't the gentlest track to return to. Long straightaways, high speeds, and we've seen brutal crashes there before. And after Pocono, back-to-back road courses, including a brand new 16-turn, 3.5-mile street circuit that's going to demand intense steering, shifting, and pedal work from a wrist that just got fractured days earlier. Is Bell setting himself up for disaster by rushing back too soon? Keep watching, because I'll break down exactly what's at stake for him points-wise, and why this decision might be riskier than anyone's admitting. Because here's the brutal truth about this championship format. There's no safety net. It's all about points. And right now, Bell sits 10th, 81 points above the cutoff line. Sounds safe, right? Well, just look at what happened to the points leader. He had a 122-point lead. In just 2 weeks, it dropped to 51. Points leads can evaporate in an instant if the wrong driver catches fire. So if Bell loses more positions while nursing this injury, his championship dream could slip away fast. This is must-watch territory heading into Pocono, and I'll be right here covering every lap. Now, let's shift gears, because it's time for my weekly power rankings. And trust me, this week's list has some shakeups that are going to spark a lot of debate in the comments. Starting with the honorable mentions. A couple of drivers had nice top 10 finishes, but just missed the cut this week. At number 10, we've got a driver who's impossible to ignore right now. Top 10 finish at one track, 5th place at his home track at Michigan. He might be making enemies out there on track, but love him or hate him, he's must-watch racing every single weekend. He's climbed back into the top 10 in points and earns a spot in my rankings this week. At number 9, this was the toughest placement of the entire list, and I'll explain why. This driver has had top 5 speed nearly every single week for the past month. He's led 20 or more laps in 5 of his last 7 races. But the finishes haven't been there. He's been wrecked out of the top 5 at least 3 separate times in recent weeks through absolutely no fault of his own. And now, on top of all that bad luck, he's nursing a serious injury heading into one of the most demanding stretches of the season. Will it affect his performance this weekend? That's a question I genuinely cannot answer yet, and neither can you. We're all watching together. At number 8, this one was easy. This driver deserves his flowers. His last 5 oval finishes read 11th, 12th, 13th, 3rd, and 2nd. Starting from the rear of the field this past weekend and still out-earning the race winner in stage points. This has been a quietly dominant top 10 team for an entire month, and it's about time people started noticing. At number 7, I'm not going to be harsh on this guy despite a rough finish. He got caught up in a massive restart wreck that wasn't his doing. But before that, he was leading laps and finished 2nd in the opening stage. His last 3 races before that were 3rd, 6th, and 13th. Speed has been there. Bad luck got in the way this time. At number 6, another tough call. This driver got loose and collected another competitor in a crash. And to his credit, he took full ownership of it. But this marks the 2nd time in 3 weeks he's spun out completely on his own. Still, when he's not making mistakes, he might be the fastest, non-dominant manufacturer driver in the field right now. 2 wins this season, and before his crash, he had led over 60 laps with 17 stage points. The talent is undeniable. The mistakes are becoming a pattern, and that's something to watch closely going forward. At number 5, this driver has had top 5 speed for almost 2 months straight, but this past weekend was strange. The car didn't look like a top 10 car most of the day, yet somehow they scraped together a 10th place finish anyway. He's climbed to 13th in points and is trending in the right direction, even if this particular week cost him a couple spots in my rankings. At number 4, this might be a controversial jump for some of you, but hear me out. This driver outperformed 2 drivers ranked ahead of him on this list this past weekend. He earned a top 5 finish, picked up 11 stage points, and has now led laps in 3 consecutive races. Top 5 at one track, would have been top 5 at another if not for a fluke late race tire issue, and another top 5 this past weekend. He hasn't won in a long time, but the momentum is undeniably building. And if you've been ignoring this driver, now is the time to pay attention. At number 3, holding steady once again. This driver hasn't shown winning speed in a few weeks, but his average finish over the past month is sitting at an incredibly consistent 8.8. While his team has dealt with personnel shuffles earlier this season, things seem to have stabilized, and on tracks that haven't historically favored his manufacturer, finishing 7th or 8th every single week is genuinely impressive. 3rd in points, 3rd in my rankings. At number 2, this driver had his first bad points finish of the entire season, and honestly, it wasn't even his fault. He had a fast car, won a stage, earned 10 stage points, and then got swallowed up in that massive restart wreck. Bad luck was bound to catch up with him eventually, and it finally did. His massive points lead has been cut in more than half in just 2 weeks. Is this the beginning of a slide, or just a 1-week blip? That question alone should keep you on the edge of your seat heading into Pocono. And that brings us to number 1. For the 2nd week in a row, what has this driver done for me lately? Oh, just 3 wins in the last 4 weeks, including back-to-back victories, dominant on long runs, and now showing real strength on short runs and restarts too. Right now, there is no argument. This driver is the undisputed #1 in the sport. That's my top 10 for this week. And folks, I guarantee some of you are going to disagree with at least half of these placements. Drop your own rankings down in the comments. I read every single one of them. And listen, if this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening heading into Pocono, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button right now, because next week's race could completely flip this entire list upside down, especially with the news we just talked about. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again very soon.